So when we first got to Osasco at the Living Magic Apartments, there was no magic in the Living Magic. We walked in and the first sign of impending doom, we sat on a couch and we just couldn't stop sneezing. Like, you hit record. Hey, welcome to the channel. My name is Michael. This is Heart Lights. Around here, we talk about all things Brazil. We've been down here for 3 months now. We spent our first 2 3/4 in the great state of Sao Paulo. And yeah, today we're gonna talk about some of the Airbnbs that we were kicking it at. 4 in total for the first 3 months. Yeah, range of experiences, range of times, and yeah, let's get right into it. So Pinheiros, walking into our first apartment, it's very modern, very sleek, chic, very tech forward. It had a gorgeous balcony, amazing views. You could see so much of the city, so much of the city. And it somehow still felt so like its own little thing, like its own little place, own little bubble within the grand scheme of everything else, the grand scheme of everything that is Sao Paulo. Lots of ceiling space, 2 bedrooms, 2 bath. One of them was an office space, large TV, massive TV. Your essentials, kitchen essentials, all there. Washer in unit. Do we have a dryer? How do we dry our clothes? No dryer, but that's to be expected from a lot of the places out this way. It definitely gave a luxury condo space for sure. Full pool with jacuzzi, full gym, all access to that stuff. Really nice home. In terms of host communication, they were good. Maybe not as personable as we'd hoped they could have been, but they did answer a lot of our questions in a pretty okay fashion. I don't know if it was the most timely, but we got our stuff answered. Check-in, check-out process was smooth. At first, it was a little bit of a culture shock with the gated entry and all of the bureaucracy that's involved, of the doorman, and we'll get into that a little bit more later in the video, but definitely it was a learning curve just to try to get into the building sometimes, but you'd find that is not uncommon in Brazil. Most things were all within like a 15-minute radius, very walkable. Didn't need to call Uber for much of anything unless you were trying to get to like the other side of the town or something like that. General vibe of the area, lively, trendy, commercial. It was mostly quiet, but it definitely had a good feeling of life in the air. So even with it being such a big city, like especially that very first Sunday that we were there, you could feel the energy, but it was just still so quiet. It was like everyone was just kind of, cruising. In terms of safety, I felt like it was okay. Like during the day, it felt okay after, going out a couple times, just kind of getting used to the area a little bit more. And that just the first immediate 10-15 minute radius, it definitely felt okay around there. It's all vibes, for real. It's just vibes, you mind your business. Don't be too flashy or whatever, and you feel okay. It's also coming from a cisgender man, so take that with as you will. And the scale from authentic to touristy, where we were at, feels very authentic to what I could imagine Sao Paulo actually feels like. And I feel like it'd be best for like solo travelers, couples, business travelers, maybe not so much families. I don't know if there's like a whole lot to get done, especially with the size of the place itself. Just not enough space in this particular Airbnb that we were at. And I don't know, the area is just a little bit more, just giving younger vibes, a lot more hustle and bustle. So would definitely say anyone but families. Were the beds comfortable? They were okay. But yeah, we had air conditioning, one of the rarer ones, one of the rare places to have air conditioning. Not everywhere has air conditioning, as you can imagine, but it is a big city, so you're bound to find it. A good Wi-Fi from Vivo, hot water with windows in the bathroom, big TV, but I think those are overrated nowadays anyways, to be honest. In terms of cost, we did a little over $600 for about a week. And I think when we inquired for a full extended 2-month stay, it was going to be about $1,200 a month. Great first stop. That would have been, if Osasco was our first stop, that would have been crazy. No, I think in terms of price, in hindsight, the price we paid for a week is a lot. It was a nice place. Nice, good start to our trip out here in Brazil. But then we had to find our longer term stay. We looked to try to do a month right outside the city in a little town called Osasco. And I already get, the shivers anytime I say it or think about it, because this was one of the worst experiences I've ever had, ever. So when we first got to Osasco at the Living Magic Apartments, there was no magic in the Living Magic. We walked in, and the first sign of impending doom, we sat on a couch and we just couldn't stop sneezing. Like, we don't be sneezing. So we're just sitting on this odd material furry couch, and it's very clear that it hasn't been cleaned or scrubbed in so long. So the first thing we did was we went out and we bought a whole bunch of cleaning supplies from the only place in the whole city, the mall, and we scrubbed that mother down. Like, it was crazy. We spent the whole evening where we should have been like resting, relaxing, chilling, and just cleaning, doing the cleaner's job. Why is there a cleaning fee on Airbnb if I am the cleaner? But as we were cleaning, the pipes burst on the washing machine. The pipes that were held together by tape came apart. There was water all over the floor, and initially it kind of felt like, oh my God, there's water. But then it literally led us to clean the floors, which desperately needed to be cleaned. The pipes bursting actually just revealed just how dirty the floors were as well, along with, I'll insert picture here, and I'll probably insert picture over here, and I'll probably throw this up here too. So just a lot to be desired with Osasco, and it was crazy because even after all of the shenanigans of the first 36 hours, we contacted the host and we were like, we'd be down to still stick around, since we already put all of our literal muscle, sweat, tears, and dollars into the place. So we were just like, let's just try to make the most of it. And even the hosts were giving us the hardest time. They tried to play us. Of course they did. They tried to play us. They knew they were scamming. We sent all of the pictures to them, explaining like, hey, like this kind of sucks. We're doing our best with it. It kind of sucks, but it was crazy because, the internet wasn't the best. So it took a second for all the pictures to come through. Half the pictures came through. The hosts were like, but I wiped it down yesterday. Then she sent a collage image. I'm going to see if I can find it. I'm going to put it up on the screen if I do. She sent a collage image of the different rooms and how clean they were. It was also super low quality. Like, the image could have been taken on a Nokia from '04. So then I was like, oh, hold on. The internet's just been kind of whack. And the rest of the pictures came through, and she was like, okay, what do you want? We said, can you just like get rid of these damn chairs? And she said, no. She said, no, y'all. She said, no. I said, sheesh. Are you for real? Whoa. The owner likes it up to this standard. This is our standard. This and this and this and this and this and this. This is our standard. And thankfully, that's not my standard. That's not our standard. So clearly, they're not like us. And we said, well, we got to go. We hit up Airbnb. They immediately seen it our way. All of a sudden, if you even want to call them hosts, got very quiet, got real quiet as they were starting to see the scammers get got. Okay. And it's just so crazy because I never really thought that you could really catfish your Airbnb, but you can really catfish your Airbnb because the way that people try to show off the views of the surrounding place, and they don't actually give you any good detail on the actual place, that you'll be staying at and that you'll be like laying your head at and having to smell all of the pipes at, and that you'll be having to fix and clean all of the mold off of the walls and the ceilings at. So if you're watching this, just know there are certain things to look for, and everything that we experience in Osasco has taught us so much of what to look for. I'm gonna just go right through it because, as you can see, the grand tour, it looks pretty okay on the surface, but then you actually kind of start, you know, once you kind of get past the views and the wow of everything, let me tell you, avoid Osasco. If you're watching this and you're in Brazil and you've never been nor heard of Osasco, Sao Paulo, lucky. All right, let's get into some questions. Osasco, value for the money. Was the Airbnb good value for the price you paid? It was worth way less. Did the amenities and quality justify the price? Yes, but no. The issue with Osasco is that it has a lot of potential. It had a lot of potential. Don't get me wrong. But it was so unserious. Not just the Airbnb. Think of your local nearby town where the mall is the only thing to do, and that's the whole vibe of Osasco. If you're a family, you can definitely go to Osasco. Don't go to Osasco. Did Airbnb accurately reflect the photos and descriptions online? Hell no. Were there any surprises, good or bad, not mentioned in the listing?
It was terrible all around.
How responsive and helpful were the hosts? They suck. Were check-in and check-out process smooth and clearly communicated? It was actually the worst. The worst. It couldn't have been any worse. We literally stood outside one night just trying to talk to the door people. Like, hey. We were out there for 20 minutes. Ring, ring. It's us. And they just were not. They were not. It was like, it's already tough enough that we don't speak the language all the way confidently yet. But the people who could speak the language also could not get in. So how safe did you feel in the neighborhood? It felt fine. How close were popular attractions, restaurant, and nightlife? They had nothing to do. Did it feel authentic or more touristy? Too authentic, actually. What kind of traveler would each neighborhood suit best? Nobody. Not even those on the budget. Save your money. How clean was the Airbnb upon arrival? Oh my gosh. Were there any issues with pest or general upkeep? Yikes. What specific amenities did they provide? They had hot water. I'll give them that. Did everything work as expected? Not at all. The beds were comfortable, but they were disgusting. Absolutely rancid. The pillows, I would never lay my head. They had a gym, they had a pool, they had communal spaces that looked decent, but I'm sure if a little more investigating around there too, it may not have provided any sense of coziness. Even the elevators were a little weird too. A little clanky, more spacious than some of the other ones that come around here. But all in all, Osasco, 0 out of 10. Not good. Okay, I'm gonna take a little break, run and get a cord, do a little sponsor message, and I'll be right back. Thank you, makeup team. Hey, I'm back. I don't actually have a sponsor for this video, but if you would like to see more content on Brazil, all things Brazil, tap in, like, subscribe, share, heart lights. So after all that said and done, after all the chaos of being given a total of 2 hours to pack our 6+ bags, Shorty said, let's get the fuck up out of here. So we took our extra night credit, got in an Uber, traveled an hour and a half down to the beach, and we ended up in Guilhermina. I'm saying that right? Guilhermina. One of the best Airbnbs we've had since we've been down here. No doubt about it. I think the biggest thing that stands out is just, especially once you go from the disaster that was Osasco down to being between the literal beach and the mountains. The one thing that really stuck out about the place was just like how clean it felt. We went from our host telling us this is our standard to being shown an actual standard that actually meets ours. You know, we walked in and there was a bucket of beers and just like a welcome bucket right there in the fridge waiting for us. You walk in, you could feel the energy, the way that the home, the coziness of the home, like it actually feels like It's been cared for. Even the host coming up to help us out that very first night when we got there and we were just having some issues with the door. Like, she lived right across the way in one of the other units, and she was right over that way, and just good vibes, good energy. And we were just always looking for that little bit more of a community feel anyways. I think Sao Paulo is just a big name to kind of, that you recognize, and you kind of stop there the first stop, see what it's about and everything. But when it's time to get down to it and really settle, I'm not sure if that's really the place to be, you know? So again, taking our $50 Airbnb credit, which was enough to basically cover the whole transitional night before we got over to our next place I'll be speaking about shortly. We had this one that was right in, I would say, the heart of Praia Grande, which is one of the well-known beaches in Sao Paulo state. I would say that it was a great value for the money. A great value because it was the winter time, especially with the coupon we had. I think the typical price for the place was usually much higher, but for, you know, the one night that we had, it's a very nice spot. And I think in general, it'd just be like a really nice, like, summer touristy place to stay. I would say that the amenities and the quality really did justify the price. You had a washer, multiple balconies. There's like extra little things in the kitchen, like they had a grilled cheese maker, all the stuff you need to make your morning coffee. Lots of clean pots and pans. They even had universal adapters. Like, whew, y'all. If there's one thing to make note of, South America has different outlets. The shape, all that, you will need a universal adapter. And this particular spot actually had some universal adapters already and waiting for you. So that was like wonderful. It was accurate. No catfishing here at all. It was, again, better than the pictures. Lots of amenities all around the complex itself. They had, you know, the pool room. They had the little jacuzzi area. I think it was kind of shut down for the time that we were there, but definitely would have been something that we would have taken part of. They had a gym as well, and just lots of condos and apartments in general down here have like a gathering room or like a game room, just social rooms. And I feel like they try to create like a sort of third space within your first space. So that's really cool to see as well, as a difference from some of the places you find in America. The views were amazing. The locale was really cool, very walkable. Lots of things around the area. Host was great, very responsive. Check-in and check-out was pretty smooth. Could have been a little bit easier. The door was a little weird. I think the building was a little bit older, but once you got inside, that's really where it shine. A couple more notes. It was great Wi-Fi. This is a QR code scan, which I had never really seen before. That was really cool. The beds were pretty comfy. I'd say it was one of the best night's rest we had, especially up until that point. But they just had a cool overhead above the bed itself. It kind of made it feel like summer camp, but just kind of made it feel like extra cozy overall. You know what I'm saying? It was very spacious. They had lots of beds. They had a bunk bed in there in one of the rooms. They had a bed beside the main bed. So I at least 6 to 8 people could fit in that Airbnb. Definitely one of the bigger ones we had. The layout was a little weird. Can't even cap, but it was functional. It got the job done. Lots of natural lighting coming through, which I felt like was available. I feel like in Pinheiros, it was offset by just the amount of buildings you had around you. And then Osasco was like just not a vibe at all. So for this place to just feel even just lighter in general was really nice. And I think the most unique feature was just the triple balconies. Like, that's so crazy underrated and definitely something we miss. Noise around the building could get a little bit much, but I think that was just because there was like a club that was nearby. So even on that one night that we were there, like, they were bumping and thumping, and this was like a Sunday night. They was really going crazy, and that's just the winter time. So I can only imagine like what it would have been like when it actually started picking up, got warmer and everything. But it felt pretty safe in general. I think the particular part of the beach that we were at, just a lot more activity going on. So definitely just like, you know, just keeping watch normally though. It's anywhere, I feel like, but especially they were saying the kiddies on the bikes, watch out for them. They'll slide past and snatch your and you wouldn't even know. Security around the building was also much, much more graceful when it came to just getting in and out of the complex. So that's the bureaucracy. Again, they talk about the bureaucracy online. That was one of the things that pops up all the time, and it's true. It's true. It's true. So even if you can avoid apartments in general and just get a place that don't got any of that, that's the bread and butter. But all in all, it was just like a great first stop after all of the chaos and calamity we had just gone through back in the city and everything, and just a great overall experience, heading into our next place right down the block in Balneário, Florida. I didn't say that right either. Florida, Balneário, Florida. Let me first remind you guys that everything that we have just gone through was just the first week and a half. And woo, what a ride, what a ride. But now we are at the main event over here in Balneário, Florida. And it was a nice spot. It had some things, it was missing some other things, but I'd say overall 6 out of 10. We'll give it a modest little 6 out of 10. It had some things left to be desired. That's their favorite phrase down here, left to be desired. But there was a lot of good too. So it was a 2-bed, 2-bath. It had a what to say? I want to start out with like good without sounding like disappointed. Balneario is so interesting. It was a 2-bed, 2-bath, full kitchen, 3 beds total. It had a double bed and then 2 single beds, which we actually ended up pushing together around the last week. Wish we would have discovered this earlier, but we pushed 2 single beds together. It turned that into a king and a half. It was wonderful coziness after there. That's a little bit of a reach, but we'll get there. Full balcony was really cool. It came with a grill, a full sink area, a little seating area too. A lot of the balconies out this way you can find are pretty nice. I'm on a balcony right now. I'm in a hammock on a balcony. On the beach in Brazil. Yeah, full kitchen, had the dining area, TV sitting living area, all the standards. I said full showers, but just standing shower, washer. We had the washer in there. Some of my favorite views in the entire time that we've been down here. We had the ocean to your right and the mountains to your left, feeling the way that earth and that sea collide like every day. Like that in itself was just indescribable. One of my favorite parts. And I would say that this was probably one of the best host experiences I've had on Airbnb. It was also my longest stay that I've had at any Airbnb. So to be able to get the chance to develop a sort of relationship with the host was so cool in itself. Our host himself kind of makes up for some of the shortcomings of the actual space that we were in, I'd say. So the value was good. I think we did $1,200 for about 2 months, basically, which was pretty good, especially for the location. And I'm sure it also goes up quite a lot in the wintertime. Did the amenities and quality justify the price? I probably could have, yeah. But did I have to also kind of bring a lot of my own stuff? Yeah, sure. Was it reflected accurately in the photos? I would say yes, but did it feel the way that it felt in the photos? Maybe not so much, but I think at this point we knew what we were getting into. It felt a little underwhelming at first. After a couple of days, giving it your own personal charm and everything, you were able to kind of like mix into it a little bit more, kind of make it yours. But even then, by the end, we were definitely ready to go. How responsive and helpful were the hosts? Great, wonderful. Can't say enough good things about Senor Carlos. Check-in and check-out process was super smooth, and the door people were some of the best. Very helpful. They were right on top of it. Helped us get all of our stuff in. It was crazy because actually getting down there was like a whole story in its own. We were able to bring it back together, and thankfully the door people were so supportive and so assistive, and they were always on top of it when it came to getting in and out of the building, especially when we didn't have our key. Also, the only place where we actually had a way to just open the door ourselves Very, very good. Everybody at the beach is way more chill than the city. Facts. This was the safest neighborhood. At any point, I felt like it was kind of a desert. It was kind of like we were in the middle of like just wherever. Not a whole lot going on around us, not a whole lot of activity, wintertime especially, but I think just in general, like even our Uber driver bringing us down to the beach a couple nights before was telling us the place we were staying the first night was like, that's where all the action's happening. And then we were like, oh, and then the day after we were going a bit down further, down towards Balneario, and he was like, oh, a word. Ain't nothing going on over there. It's very simple life for real. It was like kids playing soccer on the streets, old men out fixing their cars, the dogs barking at you all day long. You might see 5 people walking down the way. So chill, so down tempo. Plus it was a really good beach day. They be out. How easy was it to get around? Yeah, it was easy again. Not as walkable. It was like things were a little more out the way, but you Uber everywhere like made in Tokyo. Just a dead zone all around though. A general atmosphere, it was residential for sure. Very just community, very small. The homes were really cool. Walking around and seeing some of the homes, we were like, oh, how much? This is kind of nice. I ain't never seen. All looked so personalized and everything. It was so cool. What kind of traveler what each neighborhood suit best? Families, people just looking for peace and quiet, not too much city, not too much activity. It's real chill. It's just all vibes. Did it feel more authentic or touristy? It definitely felt more authentic. Not your big touristy, we outside type area. That's 20 minutes in either other direction. But in that particular spot, the delivery people weren't even coming out that way. So not a whole lot going on. Was it clean? It was clean enough. It just got dirty so fast. And okay, so the biggest thing with this was it did have a good number of pests, little tiny ants and little baby spiders and the works. Do not leave any food out at any moment because they will be on it like white on rice at night, especially when it was starting to warm up again a little bit. You leave the light on and the window open and the little tiny flying bugs will get up in there, and they were kind of annoying on the ceiling or whatever. And then the mold issue in the bathrooms, man. If there's one thing to look out for, if you're ever looking for Airbnb in Brazil and really just like the southern hemisphere, I'd say just look for places that have windows in the bathrooms, because there really are no fans to circulate the air. Like, you just need the air to be in constant circulation. We tried our best to put the fans in there, and they still were just not keeping the mold down. Like literally the mold was seeping out into the bedroom. You're getting the mold on the walls and everything, and you're waking up coughing, and you're like, yo, what's going on? This was me. Now you're dizzy and you can't think straight. Definitely watch out for that. That is Osasco levels of disaster, low key. But there was also a lot of good. The Wi-Fi was not one of the good, because the Wi-Fi could be shoddy. Some of the spottiest Wi-Fi we've had since we got down here. It was kind of weird with the hot water situation. You had to really figure out how to adjust it just right in order to get the hot water to work, which was a little annoying. And then the oven completely blew out on us. In fact, one of the biggest issues I had was I was getting to the point where I was just expecting something to break every single day. The fridge broke, the oven broke, the light fixtures were destroyed, the lights themselves needed to be adjusted a little bit. The beds, somehow the beds only were built to have people sleep on them for like 2 nights, because then all of a sudden I'm waking up in a hole in the bed. Just a lot of things here and there. Area around was a little bit noisy. Construction, dogs barking. A car alarm was blinging off for like 2 days straight. No lie. Off and on. Just the apartment itself did have community spaces as well. A gym that we needed permission for access to this time, which was crazy because it seemed like the most low key of all the spots. Like, who's going into the gym? They also had a pool, and yeah, am I missing anything? Yeah, so all in all, with all of those things, how could you really enjoy the place? Like, especially towards the end, it was so crazy because in just the 2 months that we were there, it just seemed like so much was just kind of seemed like everything was kind of breaking down, going wrong. So it was a little tough, but thankfully we did have a host that was very understanding, very responsive, always helpful. Our host literally picked us up and took us to get our phone numbers, our Brazilian numbers. Amazing, amazing hospitality, but the space itself just needs a little bit more TLC. You know what I'm saying? It was what it was, but we made do, as we always do. Yeah, let's just do a little wrap up. 4 Airbnbs, 2 3/4 months. Sao Paulo, really cool first stop on this great adventure. And yeah, if you have any questions or just any tips, comments, any input for things to look out for in our new day and age of Airbnb anywhere around the world, definitely drop that down in the comments. That's a wrap. That's a wrap on Sao Paulo. There were some good times. There were some really questionable times, but all in all, amazing experience. Wouldn't trade it for anything. So it may not be a goodbye, but more of a see you later. As I say, peace out, Sao Paulo, and hello, Santa Catarina. Let's see what's next.